Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman and it's another episode of Azure Friday. I'm here with Ria Bhatia. She is a program manager on Azure Compute. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well because you're a Kubernetes expert and I know nothing about Kubernetes. I've been learning. I built a Raspberry Pi cluster. I've built some AKS and you work on that stuff and you've got something cool to share with me.
I do. So I'm here to talk about our newest community project called Virtual Kubelet. So we've actually created this project and released it within the Kubernetes community itself. And basically what it does is it creates a virtual node in your Kubernetes cluster and then you're able to deploy out pods to it, but into a different service. So that might sound a little bit confusing. So
a little inception-y.
Yeah, it's basically a node within a node because it actually gets deployed out as a pod within your cluster. But that's just the way it works. The way that a customer or you would use it is that if you want to get the unlimited scale, the per second billing, or the really fast startup times of Azure container instances, then by installing Virtual Kubelet into your cluster, you're able to do that. So you're able to spin out container instances onto your cluster and it actually gets spun out into a completely different service. And so you don't manage that, which is pretty awesome. So we take away basically the underlying VM infrastructure completely. So that operational hardship of having to manage your agent nodes goes away.
Okay, so let's try to bring this back down to my level, and then we'll work up to your level. Okay, so Kubernetes manages n number of nodes, right? And within those nodes are these kubelets, and the kubelets have collections of, they have pods, which are collections of containers?
Yeah, yeah. So the kubelets basically just manage the pods and containers on that node.
Okay, and when I take like an ASP.NET Core application, I put it in a container, I put it in my registry, I deploy it into Kubernetes, and it then is deployed onto a virtual machine somewhere that's managed by AKS. And I can see that virtual machine, right? I can look at it and say that it's that one. So I have a layer of abstraction where I'm thinking about my application, but it's pretty low level though. I can still see that Kubernetes is doing stuff. Do I have per second billing at that point?
No. So right now, you don't. So in your scenario, that's just the normal AKS scenario.
Right.
For example, in our scenario with Virtual Kubelet, you don't see any of those nodes in your cluster. That's completely taken away.
I like that.
And you're able to just directly spin out pods to it. And we've created the abstraction where you do see a virtual node, just so it's easy for you, so you don't have to learn anything new.
Okay, so then if I'm understanding correctly, Virtual Kubelet is a stand-in for the kubelet that I was just talking about, and then proxies off to a service that's much higher level that has all the features that you just described.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like something I want.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
So what I'm going to do today is actually deploy an entire application and show you guys how it works.
Let's do it.
So Azure's implementation of Virtual Kubelet is called the ACI Connector. And we've made it easy to actually install the connector through the command line. So it's an AZ install connector command. You need to throw in the name of your AKS cluster. So you need to have an AKS cluster already deployed onto here. Then you throw in the resource group of that AKS cluster. And then you get to decide on a connector name. So I'm just going to call it my ACI Connector. And this is where the fun part comes.
Okay.
So with this implementation, you can actually have both a Linux and a Windows connector. So what that allows you to do is that in your cluster, you can have a Windows virtual node and a Linux virtual node, and then you can spin out your Windows workloads to one node and your Linux to another, and you're managing it from the same cluster.
But my Kubernetes cluster doesn't know or care.
Nope.
It's just handled. So then I could have ASP.NET Core on Linux, ASP.NET on Windows, Redis on Linux, and mix and match.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool.
All from the same cluster. So it's already deployed. We're basically using Helm in the background to wrap up the command, which is pretty great. So I'm going to go ahead and get nodes, and we're going to see something different. So these are my two AKS nodes right here, but these are my two virtual nodes. So those have just come up. If I get pods, so you guys know what's happening in the background, they're actually just deployed as pods. So that's why I have two pods running. But we're faking out this kubelet interface in Kubernetes. So let's go ahead and actually install this demo. So,
and after you do that, I want to ask a question about those get nodes. Okay, so then you're firing off.
Yeah, so I can explain what I've just done here. So I've basically just deployed an entire facial recognition application. So what it has is a backend. So this will simulate kind of an application that you would have running. So I have a backend, I have a front end, and I also have a worker pod. So the backend is basically picking up pictures from my Azure Blob Storage. It's finding a bunch of pictures, and my worker pod's going in, and it's sorting the ones with faces and sorting the ones without faces. So I only have one worker pod, so it's going to be super slow. Okay. So we're going to, once it starts up, we'll talk more about that.
Okay, so right now, this is the deployment process. It's going to create the containers, deploy everything. So let's take a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind scrolling up just a little bit, I noticed something interesting when you said get nodes. You've got a couple that are, the two top ones are 2 months old. The bottom ones are seconds old. And I noticed the versions are different. The Virtual Kubelet, is it really a version of Kubernetes, or are you lying to Kubernetes?
So yeah, this is the interesting part. So this is a super new experimental kind of project. Some people are starting to do POCs with it, but the reason this is different is because we're running off of, we're saying that 1.8.3 is what our implementation is run off of. So we've tested those capabilities with Virtual Kubelet, and we know it works with that version. Right now, we're also pushing out bug fixes, so like that version is kind of consistent. In the future, we'll continue to ramp it up, so we'll test it against every Kubernetes version and ramp it up, but it's totally normal and totally fine if there are two different versions up there.
And the Virtual Kubelet is pretending to be a kubelet from Kubernetes. Kubernetes is going to ask it questions about itself, about its operating system, about its memory, and all those kind of things. And it has to then lie, or does it have to then proxy those to ACI, or a little of both?
So it's a little bit of both right now. Currently, we are just passing through values for like a node condition, for example. We don't actually have nodes here, so there's no node condition. So things like that, we are just passing through. In the future, we plan to actually have more of a standard way of how we pass these through, because there's the concept of having multiple providers. So other clouds, other people can basically create other providers, and that's why we created Virtual Kubelet, to basically make a standard and conform across the entire industry on what a Virtual Kubelet means. So this is kind of beyond just Microsoft, and that's why we've gone within the Kubernetes community to be like, hey, let's work together to figure out what this means. So it could mean something different in the future.
Interesting. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit. So you have an ACI connector, which allows the Virtual Kubelet to then proxy creation of things off into another world of per second billing. Are you saying it could proxy stuff off to another company, another cloud?
It could.
Entirely.
Yep, it could. And so this is a good place to go to our actual repo. So this is our Virtual Kubelet repo. So if you guys want to see any of our READMEs or figure out how to install the connector, it's not on Azure Docs yet, but it is in this repo. So the first README, this is the development version. So if you want to create your own provider, you can, and you would go here. But if you want to see the different implementations that have been merged into Virtual Kubelet, you can see them right here. So Hyper is another one. They also have this ACI-like service, a containers as a service platform. So you can spin out into Hyper if you want, and you can also spin out into Azure, which is what we're talking about today, into ACI.
It might be totally nuts to say this, but could I have an AKS that's running in Azure and a couple of kubelets that are running in ACI, and in the same pile, one in Hyper, and going over VPN or going over the open internet?
Yep.
So even though it's high latency, it would just know. It would still be a kubelet.
Yep, exactly. You can have multiple.
I don't know why I would want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Cool.
It is. Yeah, a lot of people are thinking of these different things and different configurations on. Yeah, it's super cool. We don't know why yet, but you could have a cluster and you could play around with it where you spin out to multiple providers, multiple regions, multiple configurations of pods. Like you can really do whatever you want with these nodes.
So this really is an example of, we think that this is a problem, we think this is a good solution, and what do you all think? And you're putting out the community. So this isn't a guarantee that this is going to be a product. It's an experiment.
Yeah, it is an experiment right now. We are working within Azure itself to make sure it's a first-class solution within AKS. So in the future, it will be more wrapped into AKS, and there will be more of a streamlined solution. As you can see, this has just kind of been put together. We released in December. So we're working on AKS and ACI, and soon this will become more of a polished experience for everyone.
So from an AKS talking to ACI, that is going to be a real thing, polished and official and supported.
Yep.
And then whether it takes fire in the community really comes up to whether or not people want to get involved and help out. So the thing that you fired off, has it come up by now?
Yeah, let's see. Let's check it out. All right, so yeah, it started to process. As we can see, it's just streamlined now. So we're at about 0.2 pods per second, still pretty slow, which is totally fine. I only have one pod. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and scale this. So I'm going to scale within Kubernetes itself. You don't have to learn anything new to do this, just how you would scale before. I'm going to scale my ACI deployment. And then I'm going to say that I want 10 of them. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a bunch of pods within ACI. We're not going to see it in my cluster, but we are going to see it in the context that I can manage it from my cluster.
Does that mean that when you say get pods, it's still going to see just one?
No, it's going to see all my pods. Sorry, that was confusing. It's going to see all my pods, but they're not actually physically in my cluster.
Okay, so one virtual kubelet now is going to become 10?
There's one virtual kubelet,
yeah,
and it'll spin out multiple pods.
Within that one kubelet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll all be deployed.
Is that something I can
kubelet.
visualize within kube control?
Yes. So let's get pods, and let's do, sorry.
Thanks for your patience with my foolish
Oh,
questions.
yeah, no, that's totally fine. Everyone has these questions. So
but it's a little hard, I think, for people that are getting started with Kubernetes, nodes and pods and kubelets.
it's a lot. It is a lot. Yeah, you need a node, and then to deploy workloads to it, you need pods on top of those nodes. So the node is like the simplified compute that you need, and that's what we're trying to take away from the scenario. We don't want you to think about nodes if you're already creating applications that are in containers.
So nodes contain kubelets, but is it a contains or is it an is-a?
Nodes have kubelets running on them,
Okay,
yes.
nodes have kubelets. Okay, so here's 10 now, and you're seeing this from get pods. And
Yeah, this is get pods. So what we've done is we've actually created all these new pods. So before when we deployed, we just had these 3 running.
Right.
And these are running in my cluster, as you can see. It's on this node. But if we go down, we can see that they're actually now on the virtual kubelet node. So the ACI instances have basically been deployed out into my virtual node. So they're on a different node now.
Because you're virtualizing this, do I have to think about latency or networks or how much overhead is there?
How much actual overhead? Right now, we haven't really gotten to those specifics. Hopefully, you won't have to think about anything. That's our point.
That'd be a good
yeah,
goal.
so everything's going to be wrapped into that.
So from a product perspective, at some point, it'll be a checkbox, and you'll do the smart networking, and it'll all be on the same VMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you just scaled it out to 10. You were at 0.2 a second before.
Yeah, I scaled it out to 10. So I'm going to show you guys what. So it's already started to process.
Oh wow.
So we're already getting a spike. This is
There's
actually
your scale.
Yeah, it's actually faster than when we deploy the entire application. It takes a little bit longer. So there's so many parts to it. But scaling it out, it's probably one of the fastest ways to scale out in the cloud right now, which is pretty awesome. It scales.
So once it's warmed up and it's running, scaling up and scaling down like that. And I could even set up, I assume, my own auto scaling. I could do it based on how much is in the queue, and then when it's done.
You can use Kubernetes Autoscaler with this. Put the right events that you want to trigger a scale, and you're golden. So
between Kubernetes Autoscaler, Virtual Kubelets, and ACI, it sounds like if I was really let's just say uptight about spending as little money as possible, this is going to be an opportunity for me to get all the way down to per second billing, to have Kubernetes managed for me. Sounds like a great project.
Yeah, it's the future of Kubernetes, hopefully, and the future of what Azure is creating for Kubernetes.
So show me the GitHub page, and we'll make sure that we send folks to it. It is
So this is the page right here, and I'm also going to show you guys the dashboard so you can see what happens within your when your Azure dashboard. But yeah, if you want to create the connector from scratch, you can go ahead and do that. We give you literally 2, it's super detailed, which is awesome. The best part about being an open source is that so many people contribute to this. So we have that. We also have just the quick setup, which is what I did. So right here, installing the Windows, Linux, whatever you want to do. So that's all in there. So if I go to the dashboard and go to my resource group in here, you'll see that I just have these 2 clusters running, and we're running off of this AKS cluster. And then I have all of my ACI container instances. So this is what the connector command will do for you. It'll wrap up everything in the same resource group, because that's what we specified. And then they're actually different. It's a different compute service. So that's why they show up right here.
All right, very cool.
Yep.
So we can check this out at github.com/virtual-kubelet and get involved. Pull requests, appreciated.
Yeah, get involved. And even if you're just using it and you're a customer, go ahead and go into the issues. And if you find something wrong, just go and say, hey, I want this, or this doesn't work, and we're quick to respond. So even if you're not contributing to the actual project itself, we love the feedback, we love the input. everything's done from the open source community. And we also have a weekly virtual kubelet meeting. So if you are interested in the architecture, we do talk in SIG-Node like once in a while, but we also weekly meet and we do some in-person meetings and things like that. So if you want to be involved, please reach out on the Kubernetes Slack channel.
All right.
Yeah.
I am learning all about Kubernetes and Virtual Kubelet here on Azure Friday.